other option was using Matt Swanson. And I would have actually liked to have seen him use Matt Swanson. If I would have been managing the Cardinals today, I probably would have found a way to get Swanson in there, and I probably would have stayed away from Fernandez. I would have maybe ordered things a little bit differently. I don't know if it would have been a 1-for-1 change, Swanson for Fernandez, but of the group of pitchers that I used today, I probably stay away from Fernandez and I use Swanson instead. But with all due respect to Matt Swanson, who I talked to him during spring training. He's a great story. He added to the 40-man roster, made his major league debut the other day, was able to throw a scoreless inning. A guy to be excited about for the future. Right now, if you are pinning your hopes and dreams for the Cardinals really turning this thing around and the bullpen becoming a strength, if you're pinning that to Matt Swanson, I think you're going to be disappointed. I'd like to see what they have in him. They thought enough of him to put him onto the 40-man roster. But it's not like he's this big-time lockdown relief pitcher that they're just leaving in the bullpen because they've got their head up their backsides. It's a guy who's kind of a fringe big leaguer up and down, but you do have to use him. So that's the one thing. Oliver Marmol I don't think there were any other options there for him to use other than Swanson. And if Swanson's your big change, I don't know how much of a difference it's going to be in the final result. That being said, I would not have used Ryan Fernandez today. He is really, really struggling. I think you got to find a different route to go here at the moment. And I would be bluntly a little bit surprised if Fernandez is on the roster when the Cardinals start their weekend series against Milwaukee come Friday. If you want to join us, 314-436-7900, 314-436-7900. That's how you call. That's how you text. You can tweet at me at Matt Pauley on air, MattPauley on air. For the folks who are watching us on the video stream, you can just leave a comment, and I'll see those come in to our little digital studio that we have as we do the video side of this whole thing. Bernie Miklasz joins us in just a moment or so. Don't go anywhere. This is a Graybar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
Farming's hard. To feed the world, farmers have to work the land, brave the elements, and fight the battle against weeds. Weeds reduce crop yields, so prices go up and everybody gets less to eat. But 50 years ago, farmers got a new tool to fight weeds, glyphosate. It kills weeds while protecting the harvest. Time and again, it has been approved by the EPA and by leading regulatory bodies around the world. It helps enable practices that reduce erosion and keep soil healthy, which is good for the earth. Farming's hard, but it's a little easier with glyphosate. Learn more at go.bayer.com/glyphosate, paid for by Bayer.
Baseball is all about stepping up to the plate when it matters most. And when you've been injured, you need a heavy hitter in your corner. At Morgan & Morgan, we don't back down. We fight to get you every dollar you deserve. No curveballs, no strikeouts, just results. That's why we've recovered over $25 billion for our clients and fight for them from offices nationwide. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm, proud sponsor of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Do you know what went down at the Viper Room the night River Phoenix died? Are you aware of how Steve McQueen escaped death at the hands of the Manson family? But what about the real-life brutal murder that inspired David Lynch's Twin Peaks? These stories and more are told in the Hollywoodland podcast, where true crime and Tinseltown collide. Follow and listen to Hollywoodland wherever you get your podcasts.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED, because millions of men experience it, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. Well, Hims can help. Through Hims.com, you can get a full range of treatment options for ED, including daily or as-needed meds through a 100% online process. It all starts with an online intake form. Get started at hims.com/joy, and from there, a medical provider licensed in your state will determine if ED treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. Find the ED treatment that fits your needs, with options up to 95% less than the brand names. Millions of men experience ED, but Hims can help. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. HIMS.com/JOY.
Spring is here. Time to have your valuable trees inspected by Gamma Tree to enhance the beauty and safety of your trees. I'm Tim Gamma.
I'm Tom Gamma. Don't trust your trees to just anyone. Call the pros at Gamma Tree, now in our 71st year.
Our talented staff of certified arborists can survey your trees to determine their needs, whether pruning, fertilizing, pest control, or removals at the highest level of professionalism.
Knowledge and quality are hallmarks of our reputation. Call Gamma Tree today or visit us at gammatree.com.
Your trees deserve the best care.
Tom Ackerman here. Busey Bank proudly recognizes the Glen Ed Pantry as a building community partner for the services and food they provide to more than 250 families in the Edwardsville School District each month. Food insecurity severely impacts every part of a family's life. More than 600 volunteers and donors make it possible for the pantry to fulfill their mission to provide food and services with dignity and respect. Learn more at glenedpantry.org. That's glenedpantry.org.
This is Rob Schwartz, Senior Vice President of Busey Bank. The Glen Ed Pantry, our community promise partner, is building a brighter future, a new home for Glen Ed Pantry built by the community for generations to come. The need is growing, and your help is vital to make this vision a reality. Learn all about the campaign at glenedpantry.org. That's what building community is all about. Join Busey. Get involved as we continue building the communities we call home.
Straight Realty has always been an industry leader when it comes to commissions, so it should come as no surprise that the recent Realtor settlement has only empowered us to continue offering our sellers even better rates. We now list homes for only 2%. Hi, I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. Call me, 314-441-4444. Why pay more than 2? You can also listen to my podcast on my website, straightrealty.com.
Commissions are not regulated and are negotiable. Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
Now, back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Back at it on a Wednesday night. It is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Matt Pauley with you until 8 o'clock this evening. You're going to bring Bernie Miklas into the program. Our conversation is always being brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. You can find Bernie absolutely all over the place. Cosmo Kramer would tell you he's prolific because he is at the Sports Hub STL doing columns and videos. He co-hosts the Cards Territory program with Katie Wu, and, of course, part of all things KMOX, all our programs, Gas House Gang, Sports on a Sunday morning, and we get them each week here on Sports Open Line. Hey, Bernie.
Hey, Matt, good to be with you, man. I miss you. I told you that earlier today in a text message because in the new format, we don't get to do as many of the Gas House Gangs together, but that's all right. That's why there's off seasons, right?
That is, and we'll take advantage of this opportunity right now. What do you make of like this bullpen? Not just obviously you're not breaking any news if you tell us that it's struggling right now, but just in terms of like long-term implications, because right now this team could have a much better record if their bullpen was performing at just a little bit of a higher level.
Yeah, I mean, they've played 25 games. They've already blown 7 leads, and only those leads was blown by Ryan Helsley. They can't get the game to him in a reliable way. The way I look at it, unless Steven Matz is in the bullpen, and as we know, he's going to go bullpen-wise, the Cardinals only have 3 good relievers. I mean, one is Helsley, but he doesn't pitch much because Ali chooses to have him be held back just for traditional save opportunities. Kyle Leahy has been their best reliever all season. That includes Helsley. And Phil Maton has been really good too. But so you get in a situation today, though, where you have 3 good relievers you can trust. Romero's toast. King is toast. They weren't going to use Matt Swanson, so I'm not sure why he's here if you're not going to use him. So anyway, like in the situation, it sort of brought it to a head again. Marmol basically had a decision between Fernandez or Matt Swanson, and he went with Fernandez. And Fernandez should be in Memphis. He should have not even been in Atlanta. And so it's a tough spot for the manager. The manager made a decision that's easy to criticize. But I think there's a bigger picture here, and that bigger picture is that this bullpen is simply lousy. Mm-hmm. And if a couple of your key people aren't available on a given day, good luck trying to negotiate those final 3 or 4 innings, especially with an offense that has been shooting a lot of blanks lately.
It's kind of shocking. Bernie, you and I thought that this bullpen was going to be a real strength, even if they took a step back from what they did last year in a historic season. It looked like a strength coming in. I remember one day on the Gas House Gang, we kind of not made fun of, but sort of crossed our eyes at a national piece that mentioned the bullpen probably being a weakness for the Cardinals, and we just didn't see it. And here we are. Admittedly, it's only April 23rd, but it absolutely has been a weakness.
Well, I said a lot of times that this bullpen would not come close to matching what we saw last year, because history tells us when a bullpen is at that high of a level that there's going to be a regression. It happens frequently. And I think the Cardinals assumed too much that, that we're fine in the bullpen, and they weren't fine in the bullpen. I thought this bullpen would be capable of being solid. It's certainly not like this glaring weakness. But the idea that they were going to be able to do what they did last year, it just wasn't based on any kind of reality. I mean, there was going to be regression. Bullpens go up and down all the time. Guys go bad all of a sudden. Fernandez was so good as a rookie. Now he doesn't have a slider. His fastball's flat. I mean, all of a sudden, it's just everything's changed. Romero, all of a sudden, it started like the last 4 months of last year. Can't get right-handed hitters out. John King, the batted ball luck has finally turned against him. I mean, I could go on and on and on. The point is, bullpens are so volatile, you can never really count on a great performance or a good performance being repeated the following season, because these relievers are all over the place. There's also a lot of injuries, and free agents leave, so yeah, I did not expect it to be this rotten, though. I really didn't. And I think the national perspective were talking about it being a bad bullpen. I think they were just being ignorant. I don't think they even knew what the situation was.
No, I agree with that 100%. When you make 40-man roster moves, like if you've got a starting pitcher that you just don't want to lose and you're putting them on the 40-man, even if they don't have great big league aspirations right now, that's okay. Same thing with position players. But Bernie, when you put a relief pitcher on a 40-man roster with how many relievers you see go through a single season, you got to trust that they can pitch in the big leagues. And they made that decision this offseason with Matt Swanson. Then they make the decision to put him on the active roster, and he's just sitting there. And it is perplexing to me, because I don't think any team in Major League Baseball can have a relief pitcher on the 40-man roster that they simply do not trust.
Because all major league bullpens get stressed. Even the Dodgers, who have a exaggeration here, have a $20 billion payroll or whatever. All bullpens get stressed. You can never have enough of them. And the ones that you have, you've decided they were worthy, as you pointed out, to be on the 40-man roster. You have to use them. You can't be picky. You have to use them. And what's the worst thing that happens to Swanson, like today? Okay, maybe he gives up a double and a single, and the Braves take the lead. Maybe he's not good. But we know that Fernandez hasn't been good all season. His ERA is up to about 11.5. So why are you afraid to use Swanson? You brought him up here. You can't wait for a game to be a blowout by 6 or 7 runs one way or the other. It makes no sense. The Cardinals brag about their depth, but yet they don't use their depth. And some of the stuff Ali Marmol said after the game today really caught my attention when he was talking about there's nothing down below that can come up here and make us better. I mean, he was basically saying they really don't have any faith in the people down in AAA. And I listen, man, I thought that was a message he was sending to the front office a little bit. It's like, okay, this is what I'm stuck with. We're going to have to make the best with it. We're going to work hard. We're going to do what we can. But there's nothing down in Memphis that can help us. That's basically what he said. I thought that was a pretty damning statement, to be honest with you. I really do.
No,
I think there's accuracy to it as well.
I agree. Like, there's just a bunch of guys that they don't feel comfortable pitching right now, and that's not a great spot to be in. I'm also frustrated, Bernie, with the fact that, look, if you're running out like Chris Roycroft and you're saying, well, this guy's just got to get better and we're going to have him learn on the job because he's a young guy, or any Gordon Graceffa, like any young guy that's untested, if that's what you're doing, like, I can kind of do the okay, they're doing the runway, they're doing the transition year, they're doing all this, but they ran Phil Maton out there 13 of 23. Like, Maton's not exactly a young guy, not a big part of the organization's future. They're making now decisions in the game, yet they're sitting here in a year. It doesn't all make sense. Like, that's the point I'm trying to get to. Just, it doesn't all add up.
No. And then, Maton has been a great signing, but yet It didn't cost them hardly anything, and it was the only outside spending they did, $2 million. And there are still our colleague and friend, Kevin Wheeler, we were texting today. Kevin pointed out, reminded me, there's still relievers out there.
Mhm.
And you see relievers changing hands, going from one team to the other a lot. I mean, these guys are like easy to locate, easily transportable, and you can always find one or two or whatever. And they did nothing except Maton, and Maton's really good. But to your point, he wasn't available today because Marmol, and I give him credit for this, just thought he had to be off limits. They don't want this guy to break. They don't want to burn him out in April. But yeah, you mentioned Roycroft real quick, man. Yeah, they do this all the time. They hype Roycroft all off season. Okay. And he had a great spring, and they hyped him some more. And then as soon as he gets banged around a little bit, they couldn't wait to get him to Memphis. Yet Ryan Fernandez, the poor guy, does not have a slider anymore, and he's got to get it fixed. That's why you have the minor leagues. Yet they stay with him. And, I'm exaggerating on purpose. They sent Roycroft to Memphis in about 15 minutes. The inconsistency here is just staggering. It really is.
Before we get you out of here, just real quick, Blues lose the first 2 games. Back at home tomorrow, what do they need to do to have some success here in these next 2 games and maybe make this thing a series again?
Yeah, I'm going to repeat what I said in the video. First of all, they got to get back to their 5-on-5 game. They were the best 5-on-5 team in the league since when Montgomery took over, and they were incredible late in the season. They were terrible at 5-on-5 in those 2 games at Winnipeg. The other thing is that they're losing terribly in the high danger battle. Winnipeg's getting the high danger chances. The Blues aren't. You don't see the Blues offensively in front of anybody's net. I know Monty made a big deal about that, and I know he's in basically telling the guys, you got to crash the net. And the other thing is the third periods. The Blues were a really strong third period team, and that was not the case in the first 2 games. They just kind of vanished. And I think maybe their attempt to try to muscle Winnipeg with a lot of hits, it actually took more out of them than it did the Jets.
Bernie, our conversations is always being brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Can you tell us about your friends over at Saliga?
I'd love to. And Matt, it's great to be with you, my man. Saliga Heating and Cooling has been taking care of the Miklas family for about 17 years now. And this independent American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning dealer been taking care of St. Louis since 1927. I'm sure some of those listening to us can vouch for that. They probably had their grandparents and their parents, and now they're calling Saliga. And why not? Saliga is the best there is. And I speak from experience, man. They're totally honest. They're professional. They're knowledgeable. When they say they're going to be at your home during a certain time, a 2-hour period or whatever, they show up. And when you call someone at Saliga Heating and Cooling, 314-481-7333, you talk to a real person who can get something in action for you rather than you have to wait for callbacks. You can leave a voicemail and you don't hear back from somebody. They don't do that. Their customer service is exceptional. And take it from the Miklases. One other thing, just to tell you before I go to SaligaHeatingandCooling.com and take a look at the Priority Club. It's a maintenance program, and preventative maintenance will save you money because it extends the life of your equipment. And it also gives you the peace of mind knowing all your equipment is working very, very well and you're safe. So take a look at the Priority Club. To do that and to take a look at everything at Saliga, go to SaligaHeatingandCooling.com. That's SaligaHeatingandCooling.com. Thank you.
The Bernie Nicholas Report is sponsored by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
The following heartwarming yet informative scene is brought to you by Trust and Will.
Son, your grandpa and I used to work on this car together, and when I'm gone, I want you to have it.
Wow. Thanks, Dad.
Doesn't count. What you need is a will. Luckily, Trust and Will makes it easy. Designed by attorneys, but customized by you, you can easily create a state-specific, legally valid document that actually counts. Now, let's let the engine do the talking, am I right? Start your will at trustandwill.com. Use offer code COUNT for 20% off and make it count. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. For details, see trustandwill.com.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to Big Wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular to get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friend Mark Cantor at Cantor Injury Law. As you know, I am a lawyer, so I take this very, very seriously. I know Mark. Mark is a great attorney, very detail-oriented. He has a great team supporting him. Mark is from St. Louis. Mark is dedicated to St. Louis. He doesn't brag about being the biggest. He doesn't tell you what his favorite sandwich is. He is there to represent you and your interest, and that is it. 314-628-9999, CantorInjuryLaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be solely based on advertisements.
The easiest way to park on game day is to park with iParkit. iParkit has the best game day parking garages in St. Louis. iParkit has 2 convenient garages on Clark Avenue, located right next door on either side of the ballpark. The iParkit game day garages have multiple entry and exits to accommodate all fans, no matter where you're coming from or headed to after the game. Download the iParkit app and drive in and out using only your license plate. Use iParkit for convenience and peace of mind on game day.
Join the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra for Dvorak's Cello Concerto, Radiant Warmth. Conductor Ruth Reinhardt makes her SLSO debut with an evening that opens with Grażyna Bacevich's soulful concerto for string orchestra and Paul Hindemith's defiant Matis der Maler. Then, rising star Andrei Ionissa performs Dvorak's unforgettable cello concerto. April 26th and 27th at Stiefel Theater. Tickets at slso.org.
If you need a new garage door, this could be your lucky day. Entries are now open for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. The winner will be chosen at random to receive $5,000 towards new garage doors, openers, or front entry doors of their choice. Deadline to enter is the end of the month to win the $5,000 sweepstakes with Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Enter now at overheaddoorsstlouis.com. You can't win if you don't enter at overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
It's awful, hon.
My brother got life insurance from Ethos and it only took 10 minutes. And he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online. No medical exam. He just answered a few health questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come.
Visit ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Sample rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Billed monthly.
Will new tariffs impact small businesses? Rising costs and economic uncertainty can hurt your bottom line. But with Swish Funding, your business can stay strong. We offer fast, flexible funding solutions from $10,000 to $2 million for working capital, cash flow, and more, and as little as 24 hours with no collateral needed. If your business earns at least $50,000 per month and has been around for over a year, you could qualify today. Go to swishradio.com and use code RADIO. Swishradio.com, code RADIO.
Now, back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Live on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Back at it on a Wednesday night, full 2-hour program because the Cardinals play today. We'll do the same thing tomorrow night on Cardinals off day. Tomorrow, the Blues get back at it as they attempt to get back into this series against Winnipeg. They are down 0-2 after a 5-3 and 2-1 loss, respectively, in the first 2 games. Games that I think you can look at and see ways they could have won, but they don't win either. To talk all things St. Louis Blues, happy to welcome on to the program. You hear her co-hosting the Chris and Amy show every weekday midday here on KMOX, but of course, long history with hockey and used to cover the Blues when we had the Blues here on KMOX. We're doing host and reporting on Blues Radio. She is our good friend, Amy Markscourse, also known as Hockey Amy. Amy, thanks for taking some time with us. How are you?
Hey, Matt. I love being on Sports Open Line.
Yeah, absolutely. We love having Hockey Amy here, and let's get right into it. Blues down 0-2. What is it going to take over these next 2 games at home for them to find a way to be legitimately back in this series?
Well, I mean, the easy answer is you win both games at home and the series resets. Now the scoreboard 0-0. If you can take it back to Winnipeg 2-2, obviously you're in a better position. You're in a bad spot. You're in a bad spot if you lose one of these games at Enterprise. Going down 3-1, heading to Winnipeg is a massive hill to climb. The good news is the Blues are playing well at home. They've been undefeated at Enterprise since February 23rd. That 12 games win streak at home is the longest in the NHL this season. So you have that going for you. But Matt, I think whatever happens in this game, it's going to be a game of splitting hairs like we had in the first two.
So what? Sometimes it's luck, but sometimes it's just the small moments that differentiate yourself out. What have you seen from you compare first and third periods, and they have not been as good in the third as they've been in the first. Jim Montgomery talked a lot today about being better in front of the other goal. They've been good in front of their own goal, but not good in front of the other goal. Like what are these small things that maybe they can do that can accumulate up to them being better in these very small moments?
Yeah, and it's so interesting, Matt, because those small moments can swing the game drastically. Game 2 in Winnipeg, you look at the goal that the second goal that went in, Kyle Connor's goal, and how Binnington's stick got caught in Parayko's skate. Maybe Kyle Connor would have scored anyway. Who knows? We know the first goal, right? There was more contact in front of Binnington. So you think, man, you wish you could have those back. At the same time, Binnington kept the Blues in that game. Winnipeg, whether it was Appleton or Kyle Connor, had multiple chances point blank on Binnington that honestly, it could have been a 4-1 or 5-1 game in the blink of an eye. So a big one is going to be the goaltender's performance. You brought up the third period. Winnipeg's defense is absolute nails when they are ahead in the third period. The Blues had 4 shots on goal in that last game in the third period, and they didn't have any good high quality chances. They couldn't penetrate the D. They couldn't get down low. They couldn't get in the blue paint. So yes, the Blues are going to have to figure out a way to break through Winnipeg's defense, because right now the defense has been successful. I think also on the Blues side of things, man, Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele, they've been playing together forever, and they have been really successful down low against the Blues. Somehow the Blues have to apply more pressure in that forecheck, especially with that top line.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that, because that was something Jim Montgomery specifically talked about. They're not being tough enough against Winnipeg's top level players. And especially in the Stanley Cup playoffs, you have to lift your level of physicality and you have to make other players uncomfortable. And Amy, would you agree? It seems at times, especially as the game goes along, some of these top guys for Winnipeg, it doesn't look like they're uncomfortable out there. It doesn't look like the Blues are doing a lot to slow them down.
No, it's not. And again, it's really especially that top line, Connor and Scheifele, and they do a couple of things. When we're talking about splitting hairs, if you have that top line, and I follows in that as well. When you have a top line, they've played together for a long time. They know where the other is going to be. It makes each pass and each shot that much quicker. Again, I keep going back to Kyle Connor's goal because he got that shot off so quickly. He knew where Scheifele was going to throw that puck to him when he was coming down the slot, and you can't leave him alone in the slot. And then you go back to a couple of the power plays that the Blues had. They didn't have a ton of opportunities right there down Broadway in front of Hellebuck, but when they did, there were twice that they double clutched on the shot. It feels like nitpicking, but in the playoffs, double clutching on a power play when you have a clear shot, that can be the difference between winning and losing a game.
Something that Bernie Miklasz brings up a lot, Amy, is that since Jim Montgomery took over, the Blues have basically been the best 5-on-5 team in hockey. We're not seeing that through the first 2 games. We can talk all we want about the power play, the PK, like whatever else is going on, but don't the Blues just have to find a way to raise their level 5-on-5?
They do. And you know how, the cliche on how your best guys have to be your best guys? I sound like a broken record with Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele, but 5-on-5, when those two are on the ice, the Jets are outscoring the Blue 4-0, which means their best guys are playing better than our best guys right now. Now, it could turn around, right? I mean, we can turn this thing around in the sense that because it's been so close, I'm excited that we've got guys like Jimmy Snuggerud who don't have a lot of experience, but have the ability to adjust. I said this earlier this week. The pace of playoff hockey is fast, we've got 3 guys that are playing in the playoffs for the first time. They're getting a lot of ice time. I think they have an opportunity to adjust, and I kind of like that youth maybe as an advantage, as opposed to a veteran who is, he's given it all he's got. He's not adjusting anymore. But these young guys can still adjust. I think they can still push their game up.
Yeah, Montgomery, when talking about Snuggerud today, said that, maybe he looked a little bit intimidated in game number 1, but he looked fine in game number 2. And it was kind of that way when he first joined the team. That first game, maybe he looked a little bit slow. It was a little bit not quite there. But for the most part, this is somebody who's walked in from college hockey to the NHL, and he just kind of looks like he fits. Like he's not playing at an all-star level or anything like that. That hopefully will come. But there's something to be said about a guy who just walks onto the ice, and it feels like he fits with what they're doing.
It's actually insane. I think was that his 9th NHL game ever? I think it was his 9th NHL game. He was on the ice, Matt, with less than 60 seconds to go in the game. The amount of confidence that means the coach has in you as a young player. So Snuggerud's been outstanding. One thing to watch, I don't know if you noted this earlier in the show, Robert Thomas did not practice this morning. Tom Timmerman of the Post-Dispatch, a good friend of mine, we covered the Blues together a long time ago, but he said Thomas was moving a bit slowly. Jim Montgomery saying, no, this is a maintenance day. He will be ready to go for game 3.
Yeah, that was the message today, and hopefully that stays true. Something else Montgomery said was he mentioned how much of an advantage it can be in St. Louis and having the crowd. And I'm not just trying to do a pat ourselves on the back. We're St. Louis and we're talking sports and we're a great sports town. But when you're down 0-2, there is some responsibility for the fans to help give as much energy as possible with this series shifting to the Enterprise Center.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Absolutely. It's just they've talked about a lot of intangibles with this team. Why did this team go on this 12-game winning streak? How did they forge their way into the playoffs when it was looking bleak? And they used intangibles like love. I think you said, we love each other. We're playing for each other, which can be kind of cheesy and schmaltzy, but any edge that you can get in the playoffs matters. And I do think that intangible edge, as kitschy as it sounds, does mean something. There is a true home ice advantage. Here at Enterprise, the Blues have played great. And again, I think, too, for guys like Snuggerud that are younger, that are playing in this atmosphere for the first time, playoff hockey at home, Matt, you've been to a million games. You know how even as a media guy, it is palpable, the energy that's in the arena. So I do hope that carries over for sure.
She is Amy Markskors. You follow her on Twitter at Amy, MarkSkors. She becomes Hockey Amy on Twitter during Blues games, so make sure to follow along with that. Amy, Chris and Amy tomorrow. I think I'm on with you guys tomorrow, so we'll reverse roles at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Always looking forward to chatting with you, Matt.
Awesome. Thanks, Amy. That's Amy Markskors joining us here on the program, and hopefully the Blues keep winning, and we'll have more opportunities to get Hockey Amy onto the program as the Blues trying to find a win, right? Trying to find a win here before all is said and done. A couple wins in their home building would be nice, and just reset the series. They got to find the win that was in their sails there during the long winning streak. But again, it's different. It's so many things change going from the regular season to the postseason. It's just different. So big game coming up tomorrow night. We'll take a break, come back, wrap up hour number 1. We'll open up phone lines, text messages, tweets, all that stuff after the 7 o'clock news for you to give a thought on what's going on with the Cardinals. I know a lot of people are thinking through that. So we've still got a lot to get to before we get done today at 8 o'clock. This is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup Tournament is coming back to St. Louis. Join us on May 7th at Energizer Park for the round of 32 and watch St. Louis City SC battle Union Omaha to kick off our run for America's most historic trophy. Get tickets at stlcitysc.com/Open Cup and help the boys in red bring home an 11th U.S. Open Cup to our city.
Tired of battling pests? At Rottler Pest Solutions, we offer year-round protection from termites, mosquitoes, moles, and more. With flexible scheduling and 24/7 support, we're always here when you need us. Visit Rottler.com today to schedule your free inspection.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash, and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
It's awful, hon.
My brother got life insurance from Ethos, and it only took 10 minutes. And he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online. No medical exam. He just answered a few health questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come.
Visit ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Sample rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Billed monthly.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular to get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for autopay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Experience the exhilarating atmosphere of a Cardinals game. Join the sea of red in the wave around the stadium. Feel the rush of excitement as a home run lights up the sky with fireworks, bringing the whole ballpark to their feet. Nothing beats the thrill of watching the Cards get the W with the final out at the plate. It's more than a game. It's an experience. Visit Cardinals.com for tickets and info. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
Game tickets? Check.
A round of cold beers? Check.
Ballpark hot dogs? Check.
Baseball is back, and nothing beats a night out with the guys.
Or ladies.
At a Cardinals game.
From thrilling games and mouth-watering eats to the iconic ballpark energy, Busch Stadium is the ultimate spot for you and your crew to dive into America's favorite pastime.
Make your next night out the best one yet. Join us at Busch Stadium, where every hour is happy.
For tickets, visit Cardinals.com.
St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
Welcome back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Once again, Matt Pauley on KMOX.
Just a few more minutes left in the program, not the program, hour number one. There's still a lot coming up in hour number two. I was trying to get out of here before we're done. No, that's not right. We're with you till 8 o'clock this evening. 7 o'clock hour is going to feature a conversation with our friend Rich Sermonello. We'll preview the NFL draft. That is beginning tomorrow. That's going to be, tomorrow night. Should I bring the, I'll mention it. Look, I lived in Wisconsin at one point, so maybe this hit me a little bit more than it would hit somebody else. And I hate being critical of other media members. It's just not something I do. I'm almost never critical of like broadcasters on the air. Like I think we all kind of do our thing, and I've just sort of made it a policy of mine that look, I don't love everything that everybody does. That's for sure. But we all kind of do our own thing, and sometimes there's people who don't like me and don't like what I do, and that's fine. That's just kind of part of the business. That being said, sometimes when you're not in a really big city, you look at the people who are in a really big city and you go, man, these guys are bad words. And I like, by the way, from ESPN, Mike Greenberg. I've always, going back to Mike and Mike in the morning, that's and everything he's done since then. I'm a Mike Greenberg fan. But I saw a tweet of his today, and it just, man, it struck me the wrong way. It just struck me that people in big cities don't understand sometimes what's going on in not so big cities. So Mike Greenberg took a picture of himself and Booger McFarland, another ESPN personality. They were at a restaurant or a diner or something in Green Bay, because all these big city people, all these New York people, all these California people, all these Chicago people, I guess, all these huge city people, they have been forced, oh my goodness, they have been forced to go visit a city that's not quite as big and not quite as current and as up to date as wherever they're from. They've been forced to go to Green Bay, Wisconsin for a few days. And I know Greenberg was trying to make a joke, but this joke, I just went, come on, man. Mike Greenberg took a picture of himself and Booger McFarland, and he tweeted out, "Breakfast in Green Bay. I asked if they could make an almond milk latte. Booger hasn't stopped laughing." Look, okay, part of the joke is Wisconsin's the dairy state, right? So almond milk is not exactly something that is accepted there, right? Like that's part of the joke, and I'll give him a free pass on that part because they're in Wisconsin and he's asking for almond milk. That's part of the joke, and I guess it's kind of funny. But what's not funny, what I don't think is amusing in this whole thing, is just like this whole air of almond milk latte. We do things at a higher level because we're from cities that are bigger and more important and more civilized and more class and more culture. And look, when we talk about the East Coast bias, the West Coast bias, things like that, those things do exist. And when you're somebody who works at ESPN, part of your job is to appeal to basically everybody. And I think sometimes national broadcasters forget that, yeah, they're talking to the people who live next door to them, but they're also talking to the people who live in Green Bay, Wisconsin, or talking to people who are living in Southern Illinois or in, wherever, like whatever area that isn't a big city-ish. And I'm talking to a lot of those people right now. And I've got, I've lived in small towns all over the country at time. And I spent a lot of time, even a place, it's in the St. Louis area, but my mom grew up in Festus, and I spent a lot of time there. And it's a little bit different than being around what's going on in St. Louis and its immediate suburbs. And I don't know. Maybe I'm in a bad mood, and I just decided I'm going to go get upset about something that I don't really need to get upset about. But it would have been so easy. It would have been so easy for Greenberg not to send out that tweet that seems very dismissive and I think is very condescending to some good people who get to host a pretty cool event this weekend in Green Bay. Maybe I'm wrong on this one. Anyways, we got more coming up in just a moment. This is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
A great lawn is like a great sports team. It takes expertise and a little extra care to really stand out. Now, that's where True Green comes in. They're the official lawn care treatment provider of the PGA Tour, so they know a thing or two about keeping grass looking like a fairway. Now, here's the best part. It's more affordable than you think, and they'll even match any competitor's price. Plus, True Green backs it all up with a satisfaction guarantee. Not happy? They'll come back between visits to make it right. Don't wait. Head to TrueGreen.com today. Let the pros do the work while you sit back and enjoy the results.
Hi, Mia here at the winnings desk of the Missouri Lottery. So, I wanted to write a thank you note for every dollar Missouri Lottery players have given to Missouri and education. But that would be 8.4 billion notes. So to save a little time and a whole lot of paper, here's just one. Dear every single lottery player in Missouri, thank you for helping us give $8.4 billion to Missouri and education. Sorry, my trumpet's in the shop. The Missouri Lottery. Winners welcome and play responsibly.
Join the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra and music director Stefan Deneuve for Peer Gynt, a fully staged live performance featuring the SLSO, the St. Louis Symphony Chorus, and a cast of actors, puppets, and sets. Edvard Grieg's Peer Gynt is rowdy, charismatic, and outrageous, and it is filled with laughter and love. This performance will be a theatrical experience like no other. May 3rd and 4th at Steeple Theater. Tickets at slso.org.
Hi, Stacy with Fairwinds River's Edge Senior Living in St. Charles. Are you a senior seeking a fun retirement? Do you want less work and more play? Do you want to enjoy great food that you don't have to cook? Then I know. Stop what you're doing right now and call Fairwinds. Set up a time to visit and have a meal. Meet some of our awesome residents. Check us out online at fairwindsriversedge.com. We hope to talk with you soon.
O'Reilly. Get one free set of Brake Best brake pads when you buy 2 Brake Best Select brake rotors. You can upgrade to Brake Best Select brake pads for just $10 more, or upgrade to Brake Best Select Pro or import direct pads for just $20 more. Visit your local O'Reilly Auto Parts. Offer in store only. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop.
No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. Mop drop.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back.
News, talk, cards. KMOX AM St. Louis. KMOX FM Hazelwood. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Jennifer Kuiper. A dozen states sued the Trump administration to stop its tariff policy. Oregon Attorney General Dan Rayfield says it's unlawful.
President Trump's stance on national economic policy and tariffs has been nothing short of chaotic. It's put our economy on tilt. It's already begun increasing prices on things we regularly buy, from groceries to utility costs.
The lawsuit, also brought by states including Arizona, Connecticut, Minnesota, and New Mexico, challenges President Trump's claim that he could arbitrarily impose tariffs based on the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. The president urges China to make a deal to end major trade tariffs. CBS's Linda Kenyon.
China has called President Trump's trade practices bullying and blackmail. The president acknowledges his tariffs of 145% against Chinese products are very high, but he says they don't have to stay that way.
I get along very well with President Xi, and I hope we can make a deal. Otherwise, we'll set a price, and hopefully they'll come here and they'll contribute. And if they don't, that's okay.
In a much more easygoing tone than when he set the tariffs, Trump conveyed a certain optimism.
We're going to get along great with China. I have no doubt about it.
Linda Kenyon, CBS News, the White House.
Trump says he thinks there is a deal with Russia to end the war in Ukraine, with President Volodymyr Zelensky now the holdout.
I think they went well. I mean, we got to get two strong people, two smart people to agree. And as soon as they agree, the killing will stop.
The mayor of Kyiv is reporting at least 21 injured in a missile attack on his city. In St. Peter's Basilica, long winding lines lead to the coffin of Pope Francis. In St. Peter's Square, the faithful reflecting on the experience.
It's kind of just a mixture of emotions. I mean, I'm anxious a lot, walking in. It's such a surreal place, and it's very holy, and seeing the body and just remembering everything that he stood for is very important.
The funeral will be held on Saturday, and the secretive voting process to choose a new pope begins 15 to 20 days after the death of Pope Francis. Trust in the government is on a downward trend. CBS's Matt Piper with the study.
Just 41% of Americans now trust the U.S. Supreme Court, a sharp fall from 68% in 2019. Nearly 1 in 3 say they have no trust at all in the court. But support for judicial oversight of the presidency is surging. The Annenberg Public Policy Center survey shows Americans across party lines overwhelmingly support the Constitution's system of checks and balances that limits presidential authority. 66% say presidents should not ignore court rulings even if they disagree.
This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
At 7:03, it's a cloudy sky, standing at 73 degrees downtown at the Arch.
For me, St. Louis, a chance to serve. Thank you for supporting me through the words and actions over the years.
Illinois Senior Senator Dick Durbin will not seek a 6th term next year, made the announcement on X.
I truly love the job of being United States Senator, but in my heart, I know it's time to pass the torch.
Durbin says the people of Illinois have honored him with the responsibility longer than anybody elected to the Senate in the state's history. The St. Louis City Budget Director is anticipating a downturn in the economy, building it into his 2026 fiscal year budget proposal. So why is the budget higher?
Budget Director Paul Payne says the earnings tax reimbursements from the COVID years, being a one-off expense from last fiscal year, helps alleviate the city's budget demands.
We're not going to see a repeat of the 3-year reimbursements that we saw this year, which also included interest penalties as well.
Payne says they are working to figure out how much the year-to-year reimbursement will be in a post-COVID world. Sean Malone, KMOX News.
Missouri lawmakers held a public hearing on whether concealed weapons should be allowed on public transportation. Proponents argue commuters should have the right to defend themselves, but Kansas City Democratic Senator Barbara Washington says the risk of more weapons in crowded areas is not worth taking.
Whenever you got a weapon on you, you're going to have a lot more confidence in what you're doing. So if I got a gun on me, I'm on the bus, I get into a slight argument, I'm going to pull my gun out. And somebody's going to possibly lose their life. And we don't need that. And we don't want that in Missouri.
The bill, which passed the House on party lines, also allows 18-year-olds to apply for a concealed carry permit compared to those aged 19 now. Year-round ferry service to and from Grafton could become a reality, and Mayor Michael Morrow tells KMOX it's not just an Illinois issue.
And Mayor Morrow says Grafton's main industry is tourism.
When the ferry is running, it greatly increases the tourism. People from Missouri coming over, people from Illinois going over to Missouri, back and forth. So it's exponentially increases our business in town.
The Grafton Ferry goes into St. Charles and crosses both the Illinois and Mississippi rivers at the conjunction. Other ferries are in Brussels and the Golden Eagle, which goes into Calhoun County.
They all run. State Ferry runs 365 days a year, except for when the ice is too thick on the river.
Morrow wants the Grafton Ferry to also run 365 days a year, not only increasing tourism, but he says there's a great need for commuters avoiding the River Road, crossing the Clark Bridge, and on to 367. Maria Aquina, KMOX News.
Stalled vehicle right lane 270 south at Manchester Road. Clouds overnight, low 59. Few scattered showers, maybe a storm tomorrow. Also the sun as well at points with a high of 82. Right now clouds and 73 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Welcome back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Once again, Matt Pauley on KMOX.
We are back as we get into hour number 2 of the program, taking until 8 o'clock this evening. At 8 o'clock, Jen Cease is going to be in for City Spotlight, 1 hour taking a look at all things City SC. After they picked up a point this past weekend, a scoreless tie. We'll see what they can do. They've got Sunday Night Soccer this week once again as they try to get things going. So Jen's going to be in here in about an hour or so after the 8 o'clock news. I always say, so weekday day games, we do the extra inning show, which, by the way, if you listen to Cardinals baseball and you are not aware of this, I'll let you know. After every Cardinals game, we have like the network post-game show. That's the post-game show that goes out across the entire Cardinal radio network, the 150-plus stations that exist. And then we have the extra inning show, which is just on KMOX, and that's where we give you an opportunity to call and text and tweet, and we talk through things and everything. So if you turn off your radio as soon as the game ends, or maybe as soon as the network post-game ends, and you don't realize there's more coming up. We go deep into the night after games. Well, weekday day games, we don't always get the opportunity to take the phone calls and the text and all that sort of stuff. So we try to save that for Sports Open Line. So here we are. If you would like to talk Cardinals baseball, this is the opportunity to do so. You can call or text at 314-436-7900. 314-436-7900. That's the number to call or text. You can also tweet at me at Matt Pauley on air, MattPauley on air. And if you are watching on one of our various social media channels, you can leave a comment, and that comment comes right into our studio, and I can see it, and I can address that as well. So multiple ways to get connected in here. And we will start with some text messages. First off, just a couple things that I think are just wrong, and they are connected to Oliver Marmol. And if you are somebody who listens to me on a normal basis, I think you know that I'm a fan of his. I think he's a good manager. That doesn't mean, I always put the disclaimer, that doesn't mean I agree with everything he does. And bluntly, there are some moves that he's made here recently when it comes to the bullpen that I would have taken a different path. Now, it's also important to understand that even if I would have taken a different path, I understand his reasoning. That's one of the, again, you've heard me say this before. One of the things I appreciate about the man is that he does have a legitimate reason for everything that he does, and he is more than willing to explain it and defend it. That's part of what we do on Tuesdays. If you haven't listened to him on Tuesdays at 12 noon, he's on the Gas House Gang with Chris Ranji and Bernie and Tom Ackerman. They do a half hour with him, and he takes questions and comments from listeners and everything. So it's a really good opportunity to get to understand a little bit of what he is thinking. So I don't always agree with him on moves, but I always understand why he is doing things. And I think I don't ever get the sense that he's just doing stuff because he threw it up against the wall and he's going to try it. Like, I think there's always a reason behind it. So, to that end, like, we got a text message from the 512 that says, Ollie's not a leader. I always wonder where people get this stuff from. And, because that's kind of along the same lines as Ollie's lost the clubhouse. No, he hasn't. And how would you know? And I think the second part of that's the more important part. How would you know? Are you in the clubhouse? I talk to guys, and I know the respect that players have for Oliver Marmol because I've got some access that some people don't. But even with I wouldn't know. Like, even I get an hour in the clubhouse before home games when I'm there. Like, that, not even that's enough to really know. It's more about the personal conversations that I've been able to have. So he hasn't lost the clubhouse. He is a good leader. All those sort of things. And I think we need to have a legitimate conversation about some of the decisions that are being made. Again, I would not have pitched Ryan Fernandez today. I would have maybe pushed Kyle Leahy a couple innings the other day when he came out at 13 pitches. That probably, that was when Phil Maton came in and he struggled. He pitched a bunch lately. I think you give yourself a better chance with Leahy than Maton might have been available today because he didn't pitch that day. Like, there's some bullpen decisions that he has made that I understand why he's making them. I would have done them differently if I was running them, but I don't think they're per se like just flat out bad decisions. I understand the fact that he has a trust of guys who have done the job before. I get that. I 100% get that. You've never seen Swanson do anything, but you've seen Ryan Fernandez do something, so you're leaning on the trust that this guy has done it before and he can do it again. That is a legitimate line of thinking, even if it's something that in the moment I would not take that path. Mark has given us a call. Hey, Mark, you're on Sports Open Line.
Taking my call, Matt. This is an interesting discussion, and I agree with all I've heard you say. But I think that if you want to get different results, then you have to do some different things. I noticed that it's quote now, 7th, 8th, you have a 7th inning man, 8th inning man, and a 9th inning man. Some teams have that, and it works well for them because of dependability. But I think what has to happen for right now, of course, it's been said over and over again, the person that you bring up, you got to trust them. You never would know what they can do unless they're given the opportunity. But I think that if they keep Matt in the bullpen, that can be a long man, and keep Leahy there as another potential long man. Of course, you wouldn't be able to use him as much as, but when the game is on the line, like today, and you got an off day tomorrow, then when the game is on the line, you can't get to Hosley, your closer. But what about bringing him in to get 1 or 2 outs in the 8th inning, and then at least take it to 9th to give your team opportunity to score, whereas that you possibly could win the game, but then to lose the game in the 7th or the 8th inning. A lot of that's been happening only because the fact that you're doing the same thing and you're going with the same guy and you're getting the same results. So I think that if you maybe change it up a little bit, and then I think you had to go back to the gut managers back in the day. I know things are different, but then sometimes when you see, like you mentioned about Leahy, you see he's getting guys out, didn't throw many pitches, let him go an additional inning. If you have a luxury where you had more people down there that you can call upon, and you can give them the ball, they're going to get you out of the inning and get you to Hosley. That's different. You don't have that luxury in terms of that. So you have to do something different in that regard. That's just my recommendation.
Yeah, Mark, I certainly appreciate the phone call. And actually, I have a general agreement with you. Like, I think last year where you had the 7th, 8th, and 9th covered between Kittredge, Romero, and Helsley, you could be really, really strict in the way that you go about using your bullpen every day and have super defined roles. I think when the bullpen is leaking oil a little bit, I think for a little while you try to stick with the very defined roles and see if everything kind of gets back on track. But if it's not working, I do, that's why I mentioned the thing the other day. Like, he was at 13 pitches and you've used him in multiples before. You can bring him back. I don't love the idea of Helsley in the eighth inning unless you're in maybe a little bit of trouble and you need him to come in to get that final out. I love the way they used Helsley last year. It got him to a point where he was the best closer in baseball. But generally speaking, I think it's okay when you're in a spot like you are in right now to be a little bit more creative in the way you do things. Mike has given us a call. Mike, I got just a quick moment for you, but you're on Sports Open Line.
Thank you very much. I hope it's nice to talk to you. I worry about Fernandez and putting him in this role all the time when he's not doing very well. I think that they should send him back to the minors and get him back to working on his confidence and working on his self-esteem. I don't think it does good for him to be put in this role all the time and, not being able to do well. It doesn't do him any good. It doesn't do the Cardinals any good.
Yeah, Mike, appreciate the phone call. And I don't think he's going to be on the active roster on Friday. I don't have any inside information or anything, but I think we all have eyes, right? And it gets to a point where you're just not accomplishing much by throwing him out there. Now, that being said, Oliver Marmol says in the post-game media session today that, there's nobody at Memphis that's ready to come in and help. And that the guys they have are the guys that they've got to get going. So there's not a lot of faith. There's not a lot of confidence in players who may come up. But there's been a lot of talk this year about using that shuttle, about using that shuttle between St. Louis and Memphis. And to me, just for his own good at this point. How terrible is it? Ryan Fernandez is a great guy. Ryan Fernandez is someone who was a huge part of a really good bullpen last year. He feels terrible. I can tell you, he feels terrible that he's not pitching well right now. He feels like he's letting the team down. All these things. Fernandez is still a really big part of this bullpen moving forward. Long term, Ryan Fernandez has a very, very bright future in the Cardinals bullpen. He might be the closer of the future for the Cardinals. This has zero implications on my thoughts about what his role is going to be moving forward. But for his own good, as some of his pitches are not working, and you're not winning games by a lot of runs where you can put him into low pressure situations, and you're overusing the bullpen, and you've got a guy in there already that you don't totally trust, and Matt Swanson, get Fernandez to Memphis. Let him work on some things down there. Let the pressure come off of him for a little while. Get him right, and then he'll be back with the big club before we know it. We're going to switch gears. We're going to talk some football. Rich Sermonello covers the NFL draft for a number of publications, and he is going to join us coming up in just a moment or so as the NFL draft does get underway tomorrow night. Back with more in just a moment. It's Graybar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
An important message from S&L Coins. S&L Coins pays top dollar for your gold and silver coins, old currency, gold-filled jewelry, scrap gold and silver, silver plating, gold and silver bullion. Get a quote with a call to S&L at 544-3600. S&L Coins, 544-3600. Or visit S&L Coins at 9300 Gravois, just east of McKenzie. Open 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, 9 to 4 Saturday. Before you sell, call S&L 544-3600.
How do you feel when you switch to Geico and save on your car insurance? It's like finding a parking spot in front of a busy outdoor cafe where you're meeting some old friends from college.
Oh, a space!
And you're about to parallel park into that oh-so-tight spot. And then everyone in the cafe stops to watch. And you nail it in one try, like the parallel parking baller you are.
Mm-hmm. Boom.
Nobody clapped, but you know they really wanted to. Yep, switching and saving with Geico feels just like that. Get more with Geico.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6481. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6481. That's 800-575-6481. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Ready for instant curb appeal that comes with a 25-year transferable warranty? Call Rhino Shield today. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, aluminum, steel, cedar, and more. Over the past 20 years, we've done thousands of homes, businesses, churches, schools, condos, parking garages, large metal buildings, and strip malls, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks. We do flat and sloped metal roofs to extend their lives too. Proud to be veteran-owned and manufactured in the good old USA, so we're tariff-free. We're exceeding expectations every day. Evaluations are free. A+ rated with the BBB and a lot of 5-star Google reviews. Call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hi, this is Debbie Monterey. Join me and my co-host Kevin Short of Clayton Capital Partners for the Business of Family Business, Saturdays at 2.
Join us. We interview many St. Louis business owners and families and learn a lot and have a good time.
So many interesting stories of passing a business along to the next generation or not, and some great tips as well. It's the Business of Family Business here on the Voice of St. Louis, KMOX, Saturdays at 2.
Help keep our community safe and healthy during National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, April 26th. Find a collection site near you at deatakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent drug misuse before it starts.
Beat the spring cleaning rush and call our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. This month, get 3 rooms Zero Resified starting at $119. Take $75 off your air duct cleaning. Visit ZeroResSTL.com and tell them that KMOX sent you. Spell it forward, spell it backward. It's always the same, Zero Res.
Welcome back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Once again, Matt Pauley on KMOX.
We are back at it. We've talked a lot of Cardinals baseball today. We've talked a lot of Blues hockey. Big event coming up tomorrow evening, though, and over the next few days is the NFL draft getting underway in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And we're very happy to welcome on to the program someone we love talking football with, Vice President of College Awards with the Maxwell Football Club, also works with SNY as an NFL draft analyst, contributing to a number of different publications, including Phil Steele's magazine, which is the best that there is when it comes to preview magazines. He is Rich Sermonello. You follow him on Twitter at Rich Sermonello. Rich, always appreciate you taking some time with us today. How are you?
I always appreciate the invite. I'm doing well, Matt.
Yeah, so this NFL draft gets underway tomorrow. It doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of intrigue at the top. Everybody says Cam Ward to Tennessee, Travis Hunter to Cleveland, Abdul Carter to the Giants, Will Campbell to New England. Where, do you agree with all that? Where do you start to maybe see some intrigue start to come in here? Do we have Rich?
Yeah, I'm sorry, you just cut out there for a second, Matt. Do you have me?
Yeah, I got you. All right, sorry about that. No, what I was saying was it doesn't seem like, especially in the first few picks, it feels like everybody sort of agrees with the top 3-4 picks and who's going to be going where. Where do you see maybe some intrigue start to play into this thing?
I still think there's a possibility. It's not a great quarterback draft class, and I concede that. Even, with Cam Ward going number 1 to Tennessee, where does Shedeur go at that point? I still think there's going to be a buyer. I have a feeling that you're going to have someone, possibly the Saints look to move up a little bit to grab a quarterback. So, yeah, I don't think there's a lot of intrigue. There's some terrific players in the top 10. I know a lot of folks are saying not a lot of sex appeal because we don't have that true franchise quarterback, but I would not be shocked to see someone trade up into the 10, and that's where the shakeups will begin.
How good can Cam Ward be? Like, is he worthy of a number one pick, or is this just to your point? It's not a quarterback heavy, or at least a top heavy quarterback draft, so he just kind of becomes the number one pick almost by default.
Yeah, I love the story and I love the kid, and he's obviously going to have a chip on his shoulder. For those who don't know, very few offers coming out of high school. College career began at Incarnate Word in the FCS, goes to Wazoo, and then finished his career last year with Miami. Tremendous arm talent, great kid, good mobility inside and outside of the pocket. Is he the best player in this draft? Absolutely not. Reminds me of Baker Mayfield. I think the question becomes, do you get Cleveland Baker? Do you get Tampa Baker? We'll see. I think under normal, if it's next year and you have Arch and you have Drew Aller and Garrett Nussmeier and maybe even Cade Klubnik, I think Cam Ward would drop in the draft. But fortunate for him, and not a great quarterback draft class, so he's going to go number one overall.
Who do you think is the best player in the draft?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. There's two kids I love. If you were just ranking in terms of, I'll give you three. Travis Hunter, clearly unique unicorn type player. But Ashton Jeanty on offense, the running back from Boise State, runner up for the Heisman. I just think he's got Saquon type qualities. Bijan from Texas, Atlanta Falcons. I think he's exceptional. He's a great kid. We spent time with him last month. He was our Maxwell Award winner. Great kid, great family. I think wherever he goes, he's going to be exceptional. Defensively, Mason Graham, the interior defensive lineman from Michigan. Michigan, for as bad as they were on the field for most of the year last year, could have 3 first-round defensive players. So Will Johnson, Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant. So, but Jeanty and Mason Graham, I think those are 2 slam dunks.
Is there any risk though with taking a running back, let's say with a top 5 pick? Some people have him going as high as number 5.
Yeah, listen, I think there's always risk. Decent amount of mileage. He was the bell cow. He was the offense at Boise State. Durability was never an issue. Very strong player. But yeah, in this era, would I be inclined to take a running back that high? Probably not. Would I wait possibly to the 2nd or 3rd round, grab someone like Omarion Hampton from North Carolina? I would be inclined to wait. But I think health issues aside, I think he's a Pro Bowl back very early in his career, possibly as early as year 2.
Do you buy Travis Hunter as a two-way player in the NFL?
I know he wants to. We were with Travis as well. Another great kid. He was our Bednarik Award winner. He was with us at the College Football Hall of Fame last year. He's magnetic personality. Whatever city he does wind up in, he's going to be a fan favorite. He's going to be very popular. Sponsorship deals will come his way in spades. I don't think he's going to necessarily get that opportunity. I think he's going to be a wide receiver who would have possible packages defensively. But throughout the year, with all the Heisman discussions, there was a lot of, do we give it to Travis Hunter? Honestly, I have not seen a player that unique in the 20 years that I've been covering college football. Elite on both sides of the ball. I don't think we've ever seen that.
You mentioned your day job is with the with Maxwell Football Club, doing it as the vice president of college awards. Is there almost like a proud feeling that you have when you spend a year or sometimes years watching these guys and you select them for or help select them for awards, and then not that long later you're seeing them get drafted in the NFL? What does it mean to you personally, just watching some of these guys and their next step in their careers?
It's a wonderful insight on your part, Matt. I've never been asked that, but it's a great point. We really do. These are kids that we get to know from the high school level. Keelan Russell was our national high school player of the year. He's Kalen DeBoer's next quarterback, maybe not 2025, possibly next year at Alabama. We have had these kids going back to Trevor Lawrence before he got to Clemson. We get to know these kids. We get to know their families. Overwhelmingly really good kids. And that's one thing that we've always experienced, to watch them go through college, to work with them in their universities, their SIDs, and then to see them tomorrow night. Yeah, it kind of is personally rewarding for us to have some small part of being involved in that journey as they go to the NFL.
And now I mentioned earlier, now you're working with Phil Steele as well. And I mean, that's the gold standard when it comes to the previews and everything that they do.
Yeah, no, thanks for bringing that up. This is going to sound shameless, but Phil and I have been buddies for about a decade. I have contributed for the past 10 years. This is the first year that I have been working, I would say, half and half, Maxwell and with Phil, putting a lot of time into the magazine. I've never met anyone. There's some great football people out there. No one is more passionate. No one sweats the details more than Phil does. I've worked in his offices in Cleveland. He is borderline maniacal when it comes to the magazine. I know he has started to have his coaches calls. He talks to usually over 100 head coaches about their roster, who's up, who's down, who's healthy, who's not. Phil's the best, and I'm honored to be contributing this year.
Well, Rich, we really appreciate you taking a few moments with us. Enjoy the draft. Enjoy watching all these kids get to the next stage of their dreams, and I'm sure we'll chat again down the line.
I would love that. Thanks, Matt.
Awesome. Very good. That's Rich Sermonella, one of the really good guys out there, and love being able to talk football with him. NFL draft getting underway coming up tomorrow night. Here's what we've got still coming up this hour before we get done at 8. And again, at 8 o'clock, Jen Cease is going to be on with City Spotlight. I got a funny text message said I sounded a little too excited about a scoreless tie. It was after a bunch of losses in a row. It was good to see them at least get a point. But I get your point, and maybe you're right on that. But we'll hear a little bit from Blues coach Jim Montgomery in our next segment. We'll try to close the book on the Cardinals conversation after that. It's all coming up. This is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends at Underdog Fantasy Sports. Let me talk to my NBA fans out there. We have something cool for the first time called an extender. So here are the basics. You do a pick'em on game 1. You automatically get a 40% profit boost token. Game 2, 50%. Game 3, 60%. You following me? It goes all the way up to, if there's a game 7 necessary, a 100% boost token. You can play the MLB like I do, picking the Cardinals. You can play NHL, MLS. Simply pick your player, find the statistic, pick higher or lower, and that is it. You can win up to 1,000 times. It's really fun. I've really been enjoying it. So download the Underdog app now. Sign up with promo code Glover to unlock $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code Glover. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
Cardinal Cowboy here. Years ago, doctors said I'd never be independent after a bad car accident. Well, I proved them wrong. When proving who's the best in garage doors, Renner does it every time. Whether it's service or a new door, you're covered with top brands like Delden, Amar, and LiftMaster. Keep your garage door running strong with Renner's $100 maintenance check. Or get a free replacement quote. Call or click RennerDoorSTL.com. Renner, forward and back.
RENNER, RENNER.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Why should you hire America's largest injury law firm for your case? There's lots of reasons. Just like there's a reason millions of people called us last year in their time of need. When it comes to fighting for justice and compensation, millions of people across the country trust us to go to battle for them. We became the largest injury law firm in the world for a reason. There's only one Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com. Injured? Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
It's Tom Ackerman. I've been talking about it for years because we've been enjoying it for years, and that is Innsbruck. Innsbruck Resort, Innsbruck-resort.com. What a place. And the home values have increased 105% in the last 5 years, so it's a great return on investment. The new Sonnenhaus houses are available this year. The modern exterior of a tree house with cozy interior elements of a cottage. Innsbrook-resort.com.
We can get more sleep, we can get more sun, and we can get more exercise, but the one thing we can't get more of is time. It's time to eliminate the one phrase that could be holding you back from reaching your retirement goals. I'll take care of it tomorrow. It's time to pick up the phone and make the call to Gary Goldberg and the team at Financial and Tax Strategies, 314-991-9005, or online at checkwithgary.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Centaurus Financial, Inc., an FFC registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Gary Goldberg, NPN number 918615.
Attention. Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers. So don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-207-4545. That's 800-207-4545. Once again, that's 800-207-4545.
Welcome back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Once again, Matt Pauley on KMOX.
It's a Gray Bar Sports Open Line right here on KMOX. My name is Matt Pauley, continuing to take you until 8 o'clock this evening. Once I am done, Jen Cease takes over, and she's got you from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock talking all things City Soccer with the City Spotlight. So that's going to be coming up here in just a little while. The St. Louis Blues, they are not in a great spot right now, but they have not yet played any home games here in the playoffs. They went to Winnipeg and lost the first two games. Games that if you look at, you can find ways they could have won either of the games, but they lost game 1 5-3 and then a 2-1 loss in game number 2 of the series. Jim Montgomery, the Blues head coach, he spoke with the media earlier today in front of tomorrow's game number 3 over at the Enterprise Center. Wanted to have some fun with audio. We'll go back through and play for you much of what Montgomery had to say when speaking with the media. And one of the big topics of conversation today was the Blues being better in front of the other net, where they've worked very hard in front of their own net and have done a nice job. But when it comes to scoring, they need to be better in front of the other net. And that is certainly something that is an emphasis right now for the team going into tomorrow.
Sometimes you got to credit the opposition, and sometimes, we need to reinforce it, and I think we've talked a lot about defending our net, but I don't think we talked enough as a coaching staff, myself in particular, about being heavy at their net front.
And taking that one step forward, there's kind of a line of questioning for Montgomery, talking about putting the puck on net, how important that can be, playing close to the net, all of that, and how it all adds up to eventually scoring more goals.
I do not track shots on net. I don't think any of the teams I've coached have ever been in the top 10 shots on net. With that, you do have to recognize we need to put more pucks at the net when we have people at the net. And we haven't done that.
But chances for you instead of shots?
Yeah, it's about grade A chances, trying to get as close to the net as possible, or having two inside and double layered screens, deflections, rebounds.
In terms of getting to the net front, how much of it is just a mentality for guys to get there?
Yeah, it's always a mentality. It's an attitude. There's a reason why, I'm going to pull out an old name, but someone like Dino Cicerelli or Dave Andrzejczuk scored so many goals. They weren't scoring from outside the tops. They were right at the net front. Tim Kerr is another great name. Keith Kachuk, Scott Mellenby. Better throw a few Blues in there, right?
We saw Jimmy Snuggerud pick up his first playoff goal. And Snuggerud, I've talked about this a lot. He's done a really nice job of just kind of stepping in, and it feels like he should be there. He fits well. in practice today. He was out there and he was continuing. You just kind of look at the elevation of his importance to this team and how they've used him in so many different spots. He was on the top line today, and we'll see what it ends up looking like tomorrow. But Montgomery kind of assessed where Snuggerud was at and the progress that he saw from him going from his first ever NHL playoff game to his second one.
Good. I thought the first game, maybe a little bit of nerves. I don't know. It's Stanley Cup playoffs. It's a whole nother level he's never seen in his life. And then he quickly adjusts. He's a really smart, competitive player. And you could tell that he adjusted to the speed of Stanley Cup playoffs in game 2.
So let's get into some of the keys for tomorrow's game. First off, the Blues obviously were so good down the stretch of the season, and you kind of wonder how much of that could carry into the postseason. So far, it seems like not much because they've lost the first 2 games, obviously competitive games against a very good team, but also on the road. And while Montgomery does accept the fact that maybe there isn't that carryover, he also is looking forward to being able to be on the home ice where the fans can really help.
It's regular season. It's playoffs now. We're going to start a win streak in the playoffs. But our crowd is a big part of it.
There is a chance that we are going to see Alexander Texier play. He has not played since March 27th, but he was practicing earlier today on the third line in practice, and Montgomery made it clear that he feels like Texier can help if given the opportunity.
He has incredible self-belief and confidence. He is very, very high-end with the puck, and he does things in practice that not a lot of players I've seen that I've had the fortune of coaching be able to do what he does. So, yes.
One player who was not practicing was Robert Thomas, but Montgomery made it very clear that there's nothing to be worried about. He is definitely going to be in the lineup tomorrow.
Just maintenance day.
Expect him to play.
He's a player tomorrow.
And something Montgomery's been able to do is go with 7 defensemen. That actually gives some of the offensive players more of an opportunity, and that seems to be something that Montgomery likes doing.
I did like the rotation. I was able to get our offensive players anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes more. And I thought at times I was able to mix and match our lines to get, some quality face-offs or whatever the case may be that way. So I did like it.
You look at these playoffs so far, and the Blues have been better early than late. And some of that is a credit to Winnipeg for upping their game as the game goes along and maybe even wearing down the Blues a little bit. But Montgomery did talk about what he has seen from his team when it comes to the difference between how they've played in the first period to how they've played in the third.
I think attitude, we come out and we're being direct and we're playing a very aggressive game defensively and offensively. And in the third period, we haven't done it as much.
And one way also to make that better is just to be better against Winnipeg's top players. And that's something that whether it's just being more physical or whatever it might be, Montgomery made it very clear that he does feel like his team does need to be better against those top players because those are the guys who are really making big plays late in games against the Blues.
We have to be harder on Connor and Scheifele. I mean, they've scored the winning goal both nights, and they're making plays on us down low. So yes, we have to be harder.
That is Jim Montgomery speaking to the media earlier today. Again, the Blues are going to be back at tomorrow, game 3 of this 4-game series. It's going to be a late night over at the Enterprise Center, 8:30 puck drop tomorrow night. It's going to be a loud environment, a fun environment, and hopefully the Blues can get a win and get themselves back into the series. One more break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up this edition of the program. This is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line right here on KMOX.
Weekdays at noon.
Welcome into the Gas House Gang. I'm Chris Ranji.
The Gas House Gang.
I'm Tom Ackerman.
Insight from experts who cover the team. Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here on the Gas House Gang.
We have a cast of, do we call them characters or just people?
Characters.
You'll hear from the likes of Bernie Miklasz and Mike Claiborne and John Rooney.
The Gas House Gang. Weekdays at noon on your home of the St. Louis Cardinals. 11:20 a.m., 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Spring into a new home with amazing savings at TR Hughes. Hi, I'm Jason Hughes with TR Hughes Homes, and we are currently offering half off up to $40,000 in options and up to $5,000 in closing costs on brand new to-be-built homes at select TR Hughes communities. That's right, half up to $40,000 in options and up to $5,000 in closing costs. Visit trhughes.com for details.
The choice of a home builder is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertising.
However, you really should visit trhughes.com.
Family photographs and movies are very important. Trust the local leader in photography, the Photo Pros, formerly Creve Core Camera, with your memories. We can preserve photos, film, movies, VHS, mini tape, slides, and we restore images. Don't forget, nothing leaves St. Louis. We personally take care of you. You get great service for a reasonable price. Quality is second to none, and the more you bring in, the better the price. To find us, Google Creve Core Camera or the Photo Pros.
The Ultimate Drive, hosted by Albert Pujols and benefiting the Pujols Family Foundation, returns Thursday, May 22nd to Top Golf in Chesterfield. Enjoy dinner and drinks, play golf with a celebrity, and support Albert and the Pujols Family Foundation. Limited days remain. Reserve yours today at PujoLsFamilyFoundation.org or go to KMOX.com/events for more info. The Ultimate Drive, hosted by Albert Pujols, sponsored in part by KMOX and Top Golf.
When you haven't found love, it can feel like everyone else has. It's in every movie, every song, and all the PDA. Looking for love sucks. Thankfully, California Psychics can give you the guidance you need to find the one. We guarantee if your reading isn't life-changing, it's free. And new customers receive 20 minutes for just $20. Visit CaliforniaPsychics.com and experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
We started Neovitin because we wanted to create a multivitamin for ourselves. That's why we focus on quality ingredients and formulas with our multivitamins. Neovitin 50 Plus multivitamins are formulated with over 20 vitamins and minerals, along with our 4-ingredient physician-formulated proprietary blend for the highest quality daily nutritional support. Give Neovitin 50 Plus multivitamins a try for yourself. Find them at your local Schnucks, Deerbergs, and online at neovitin.com.
At University of Maryland Global Campus, we give our students credit where credit is due. Credit for deciding in the middle of rush hour traffic to go back and get their bachelor's and a promotion. Credit for managing 3 kids, 2 dogs, and a full-time job to pursue an MBA. And credit for serving in the military by day so they can study cybersecurity at night. For over 75 years, we've been helping students receive the credit they deserve. With more than 135 degrees and certificates, students at UMGC can use prior learning or relevant experience to earn up to 90 credits toward a bachelor's, and graduate students can transfer up to 12 credits toward their master's. At UMGC, you'll find everything from online to hybrid courses and lifetime career services to scholarship opportunities, making your education journey flexible, fast, and affordable. Apply now and save with no application fee. Classes start May 14th. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Welcome back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Once again, Matt Pauley on KMOX.
Starting to wrap things up on this edition of a Gray Bar Sports Open Line right here on KMOX. My name is Matt Pauley. Again, when I get out of here, we are going to hand things off to Jen Cease. She's got you for City Spotlight. That's going to be coming up this evening from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. So you will definitely want to be tuned in for that, talking all things City Soccer. They got a point this past week, so that was good. That's a step forward, I guess you can say, just considering the fact that they had not gotten many points here recently. A scoreless tie against Vancouver, and now they are set to return to action coming up on Sunday as they are going to match up against LAFC. That is going to be on the road, and we'll talk a little bit more about that matchup coming up on tomorrow's Sports Open Line, but you don't have to wait for me to talk about it because you get Jen talking about it for an entire hour coming up beginning after the 8 o'clock news right here on KMOX. Just kind of some final thoughts on the Cardinals here, and we've obviously spent a lot of time on them. I would love to, I guess my question, the deep down thing that I would want to know from the brain trust, starting with John Mozeliak, the guy who is in control of the Major League roster. I'm curious how aggressive the team is willing to be to make some things better and how patient they can be to see if they get better on their own. And look, I'm not trying to like beat around the bush here. Obviously, I'm talking about the bullpen, right? And I'm the I'm the pump the brakes guy. I'm the it's early guy. I'm the it's look at the calendar guy. Like that's who I am. And that's who I've always been, and that's who I'm always going to be. And I'm also the person who believes in a lot of these pieces that are in the bullpen. But I would be lying to you. I would be completely disingenuous if I wasn't able to sit here and admit and talk about the fact that the bullpen right now is letting this team down. And I did think it was interesting what Oliver Marmol had to say in his post-game press conference today, how if you are a relief pitcher and things are not going well for you, there's a very good chance that you pitched your team into a loss. And if you're a position player and things are not going well for you, there's not as much focus. The focus on position players is more about like a larger sampling generally, unless you just have one of those terrible days where luck is really bad. Then not only are you not hitting, but you keep coming up to the plate with runners on, and you have one of those like 0 for 5s with 4 strikeouts and you leave 9 runners on base. If that happens, then there's a lot of focus, but that's a pretty rare thing to happen. Generally speaking, if you're an 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts, like the acknowledgement that it was not a very good day, but we don't really put a lot of definition on it beyond that. Where when pitchers get into a bad spot, the team might lose a game and they've got an L next to their name, or they might lose a game and they're the guy who was in there when the team had the lead and they walked out of the game and the team didn't have the lead anymore. Like it's more dramatic, it's more noticeable, it's all that. And that's where the bullpen is at right now. So I want to like reserve judgment a little bit because that's who I am. I'm the guy that realizes that we're talking on April 23rd. But at the same time, and I'm not talking out both sides of my mouth here, I'm also the guy that talks so much about how important it was for the Cardinals to get off to a good start and to not find themselves buried in the standings early on. Now, I would not argue that they are buried in the standings right now. They're 5 games back. They're much closer to last place than first place. That's for sure. They're only a half game in front of the Pittsburgh Pirates. A 5-game deficit isn't something that I worry about too much. But if it grows much beyond that, all of a sudden you are buried a bit and you do have some work to do. And I don't know how built this team is. Now, again, they've played 25 games. I'm not worried about a 5-game deficit, 25 games into the year. But I can acknowledge the fact that so far this year, the bullpen has not given this team the best opportunity to win games. And I think what we've seen from a starting pitching standpoint and also from a hitting standpoint, I can sit here and confidently say that this team is good enough in those areas to at least contend for a playoff spot. Be in contention. I'm not saying they're going to win the division. I'm not saying they're for sure going to get a playoff spot, but I feel very comfortable saying that those 2 areas are good enough for this team to definitely contend for a playoff spot, but it's been the bullpen that has let them down at this point in time. So the question goes back to the level of patience you have. Do you have all the patience in the world because this is a transition year? Because this is a year where you want to learn about guys? It doesn't feel like, how do I say this? If that's the attitude you're taking as an organization, then why hasn't Matt Swanson pitched? Right? Like they're trying to win games with guys who have a track record of high leverage moments. And you don't need runway for Phil Maton, right? Like you don't need runway for that's not what this transition year is. So if they kept Chris Roycroft around and they said this guy is going to learn on the job at the big league level, and if they kept throwing out if Matt Swanson would pitch and things like that, then I think we could sit here and say, okay, this team is focusing on the future, focusing on who these guys are going to be, trying to help these guys learn and get experiences and everything like that at the big league level. But instead, we see Phil Maton pitch 13 out of the first 23 games, and he's been great. His arm might fall off, but he's been great for the most part. I think we obviously saw that he was worn down here recently, and that's why it was important for him not to pitch today. But you know who Jojo Romero is. You're still learning a little bit about Ryan Fernandez because he's only 1 year in, but he's a guy who was a high leverage guy last year. It's not like you're sitting here giving all these opportunities. So if you're not running things like this is a year to give opportunities, then how long do you just sort of keep going with what's happening right now in the bullpen before you try to make some external changes? And Oliver Marmol talked today about he doesn't feel like there's a lot of guys at Memphis that could come in and help this team right away. Okay, like that says that they don't believe in Riley O'Brien completely. They don't believe in some other guys. And maybe that's not fair because and look, again, going back to Matt Swanson, you put him on the 40-man roster for a reason in the offseason, and now you're being very careful in how you want to use them, and you don't want to destroy a guy's confidence and that sort of thing. But he's on the team. You don't want to play with a 25-man roster when you got 26 guys on it. You don't want to play a man down in the bullpen, especially when the bullpen has been used a whole bunch. So I am curious. Do they look outside the organization to like they did with Maton? And I know they always had focused in on trying to get a veteran guy into the bullpen, and that was Maton. But a guy like David Robertson is sitting out there. There's been some other things that have happened here recently, where some other individuals are available out there. Like I don't know. That's the thing that Tristan McKenzie is somebody who was with Cleveland who was just designated for assignment, and now there is a Cleveland connection to the Cardinals because of Rob Cerfolio. Is that a guy that they take a look at? If they are going to manage this thing like they're trying to really win games, and that the runway thing doesn't really apply to the pitching, well then maybe they'll be more aggressive in trying to add to pitching at some point in time. I don't know. And some of that, when I talk about Tristan McKenzie, for example, first off, you don't really know what anybody thinks about him in the organization that might have connections to Cleveland. He's been a starter most of his career, although this year when he was in there, he was not starting. So I'm just kind of throwing things out here right now because the bullpen is an issue and you want to fix it. You don't want to, and I don't think you want to wait too long if you if again you really feel like this year can be a year where you put things together and compete while still trying to do the other stuff that the organization has talked about. We'll talk about this much more on the program tomorrow. That's going to just about do it for the show today. Again, Jen Cease is up next with City Spotlight. Thanks so much for being tuned into the program today, and all Cardinals off day tomorrow, so full 2-hour sports open line tomorrow night as well, right here on KMOX.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint by a lot. Backed with